evening is to bring to light an accusation made by the president of this particular board against me. Mr. Hurtado said in a radio interview with Kevin Collins, WJL News Influence, he said that a village trustee, James Rasich, made fun, was mocking my accent publicly. And when did this occur? In case you people can't hear me in the back, when did it occur? He said it occurred on July the 24th, 2013. This grievance was so severe that he finally brought it to light on February the 10th, 6 months later. But there is no verbal audio of this grievance. There is no picture of this grievance, no videotape, but yet it did occur in his mind. I have to say something. Very seldom do I ever speak of myself because my family always believed in some humility. But I'm going to give everyone a gentle background of myself. Who is James Rasich? This may take a second only. I was born on the east side of Joliet on a one-block street called Norton Avenue. There were two railroad tracks on either of our street, on the north side and the south side. There was a factory on the end and a sewer on the side, and they called it Spring Creek. My neighbors, Ruth and Jimmy Turner, African Americans. So I was born on November the 8th, 1940. Ruthie helped my mother because I was born and I was the last of 12 children. My neighbor across the street were named Hernandez, Mexican American. The Gutierrez family, Mexican American. The Slavowskis, Polish American. The Finns, Irish American. Achenbachs, German American. Borgos, Italian Americans. Our street was like the United Nations. Believe me, we respected everything. My mother and father's names were Matija and Magdalena Rasich. They were immigrants from Yugoslavia. They came to this country to escape persecution, harm, no education, and they made a livelihood here. In our home, we spoke Croatian. When we went to school, we spoke English. In addition to that, what disturbs me is I have to also say, not only did we speak English and Croatian at home, in my personal education, I went at the age of 17, I left home, went to the different universities in the state of Illinois, one in particular in Champaign. In addition to that, to round out my education, I went to the University of Cantabria in Spain, I went to the University of Borgogne in Dijon, France, and I went to the University of Zagreb in Zagreb. I studied Spanish, French, Croatian, and I have advanced degrees, and I'm certified in 4 languages, English being, I guess, one of them. Mr. Hurtado said that I mocked his speech. I'm going to give you a background of what my volunteer history has been. I do not believe in ever prodding your own back because you have a congregation of one if you do it. I have been a medical translator at the Will Grundy Medical Clinic on Cass Street, but it originally started in the Spanish Center on Eastern Avenue. I've been a volunteer translator for patients who do not speak English, speak Spanish, for 25 years. In addition to that, I teach diabetic clinics at the Will Grundy Medical Clinic, dealing primarily with Hispanics. I have gone on 10 medical missions to Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, as a translator for Eye Care International and for Doctors Without Frontiers. I have personally organized 5 missionary humanitarian trips to Slidell, Louisiana. When Slidell, Louisiana was struck by Hurricane Katrina, the village of Plainfield adopted Slidell, Louisiana as a sister city. I organized 5 humanitarian trips there. I'm also a translator for 4 police departments in case someone is injured and they do not speak English. I qualify in a number of languages, they would call me. I'm going to show you folks something. I'm in a process right now of having these put in professional frames. These are my mother and father's immigration papers. They're naturalization papers. My father was so proud of these. These were hanging in our living room. Magdalena Rasich and Matthew Rasich citizens of Yugoslavia to become naturalized citizens of the United States. They were so proud of these that me, as being the last individual in the family, I am the caretaker for our estates, and I'm the caretaker for these. These were almost like blessed material. I'm leaving them there, hopefully they don't lose them. Now, the one thing that really irritates me, my mother and father would spin in their graves if they ever thought that one of their children mocked another nationality or was a speech of another person. I'm going to give you one of my favorite sayings. And these, I think, are some of the most beautiful words ever written. I don't have all of them, but they're by Reverend Martin Luther King, when he said, "Judge a man by the content of his character and not the color of his skin." If we lived by those particular sayings, we would have a much better country. I wouldn't be standing here right now. Mr. Hurtado, I have asked you before, and I will ask you again. Please resign your position as an elected commissioner on the Plainfield Park Board. You have played the race card to distract attention from your dysfunctional ability. And I am outraged. The Plainfield public is outraged. My family is outraged. And I'm again asking you this evening to resign your elected position and leave. I will actually open the door for you and say goodbye. I feel very strongly, and I think commissioners have asked, this public has asked for you to resign, and I would like to see it occur. And I would just want to say thank you, board, and thank you, public. I know the public here tonight is very supportive, and I'm going to ask the public to do something. Hopefully you bear with it. If you are in agreement with what I have said, as Mr. Hurtado will resign, would you please stand and give me your support? And say, Mr. Hurtado, resign. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anybody else would like to address the board? Yes, sir. Let me ask you.
Well, he's not here to follow.
Sir, let me ask you to keep it 3 minutes. We just went a little bit more than 3 minutes, so please try to keep it in 3 minutes. Thank you.
Sure. So, in the February meeting, I believe you turned to Mr. Campbell and asked him to do Howard Ruskin, 22905 Buccian Court, Plainfield, Illinois, I'm a resident of this township and this park district. At the February meeting, Mr. Hurtado turned to Mr. Campbell and asked him to do an investigation. I, as well as everyone here, heard, yes, I will do it. Here we are in April, and I've seen nothing about it. So let me tell everyone about the investigation I've done. Everything I have here is based on Freedom of Information Act that I've gotten, so if I do make a mistake, please correct me. So documents that I obtained as far as the lighting, Josu Solis and Associates were awarded a contract. The Plainfield Park District issued an invitation for bid number NEC 131201 for LED light fixtures and awarded the contract to a bid that was 40% or $136 per unit higher than the lowest bid. Okay? But as Commissioner Stein's report, we need quality. So let's talk about who it was awarded to. It was awarded to a company that had no presence on the internet. They're not registered with the Secretary of State. They don't exist. Do you know who the winner bid should have been? It should have been a company within Plainfield. It was the Light Source. They've been around for many years. They're brick and mortar. They have an internet website. They do deliveries. And they're an honest to goodness company. What I want to know is, what are you going to do about the employee that awarded that bid? It was an efficient bid, and he went around the bid documents. Okay, you guys, and I think at your meeting, you ought to inform them that they're on the hook now. If that employee does something again, you can be brought up for not following your fiduciary responsibility.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow you, sir.
I didn't think so. Let's talk about another order. Okay, for 100 polo shirts that Mr. Booth made. Okay, $32 a shirt. Oh, again, to a company that has no existence. Okay, You know how easy to beat that price is? I went on the internet, went to Land's End, and oh, by the way, I was able to save $4 a shirt. And I didn't even tell them I was a government entity. Okay, let's go on to the next subject. Okay, this month, this park district set a record for the largest amount of expenses for legal expenses. Over $20,000 this month was just approved to pay the attorneys. Just kind of an FYI. Okay? Bear with me. There's my notes. Okay, let's talk about equal opportunity. Let's talk about people getting jobs. Let's talk about some, posting of jobs. Okay? Let's talk about, bear with me, Mr. Booth. Everyone wonders what he does. There is no job description for what Mr. Booth does. We pay him $82,000 a year. That's a fact. Okay? Let's talk about Mr. Hernandez. Okay? Mr. Hernandez has a job. And oh, by the way, okay, no documents satisfy my request. What I asked for was a job posting for Mr. Hernandez. I asked a list of all job applicants that were not given the job, and I got nothing. Nothing. Oh, and I didn't even get his job application, so apparently he's one of the people that doesn't have to fill out a job application. Okay, here's another one. Let's talk about James Cullen. Okay? No job posting. No other applicants for his job. Okay, and I won't embarrass him by talking about his job application, but everyone should take a FOIA on it and see what his application looked like. Okay? In the February meeting, I came up and said, in order of transparency, there should be a minimum of 2 citizens on the selection board for the next executive director. Apparently, that fell on deaf ears. Okay, there's absolutely no reason. There are more than 2 qualified people that have done more hiring than any of the people on this table. Maybe there's some people out here that could help you. Let's talk about the server upgrade. Okay? We all know about that. There was no RFP on it. There was no quote on it. There were no competitors that gave prices on it. How about that, folks? Okay? I am happy to report, there is some happiness out there, that the bill for the, that Mr. Cross put out is making its way through the legislation. It just had its 3rd reading. And in case you don't know, it was passed out of committee in a 15-to-1 majority.
You're stealing my thunder.
Okay, hey, sorry. Sorry about that. And by the way, down in Springfield, Mr. Hurtado wants to have his name put on something. Well, he's going to have his hope because they call it Peter's bill down there.
That was good. I'm sorry, it's been over 5 minutes. Can you just spit it out?
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about why this district needs to change the name. Okay, that's going to cost me money. Okay, I'm sure that no one files these resolutions, that we're paying for the resolution, and then let's think about all the things where the name has to be changed. Business cards, vehicles, official documents. Why am I going to pay that? It's not hurting anyone. This district is bleeding money, and now we have another cost. I don't get it. Okay? The last thing that I'm going to address to you, Mr. Totto, is going back to that radio station, and you talked about people mocking you. I have seen you mock people in this audience time after time. It's on video. The meeting that they had last week with the soccer, you're on there laughing, smirking, smiling. Okay? That's mocking. And that's down on tape. That's reality. So don't you ever accuse anyone of mocking you. The last thing I'm gonna leave you with is, wait a second, is your statement on February 7th that was covered in the Plainfield Patch, with a letter to Plainfield Patch, and you're talking about needs to be addressed. I raised a number of questions, awarded no bid contracts, independent offer, harassment and bullying of individuals. Well, boy, we've heard about that. We even had to settle a law case about that, and so forth. So you ought to live by the thing of you know, don't do as I do as I say, because what you do doesn't follow anything.
Thank you, sir.
James Alwood, 7700 Briarcliff.
Can you give me 3 minutes?
Hey, you're going to get a light Jamie Alwood tonight. First, though, I do want to, Mr. Ratchet, thank you for that speech. Thank you for your service to your community. And thank you for showing everyone in this room what a true public servant is. Thank you very much, sir. I have a few questions tonight. First one, Resolution 2014-11A. This one, and you also stole my thunder speaking about what we're paying to have these ridiculous things drawn up. It's a good year for you, Mr. Campbell. So, you're the only one in this park district who's had one hell of a year. But President Hurtado, you told us that when you put this thing on the ballot, that you were doing so because this is how you personally feel. You believe in term limits. And it may surprise you that I am actually also in favor of term limits. However, I am not in favor of them for non-political and non-paid positions such as the Plainfield Park District. And again, Mr. Campbell was probably paid pretty well to draft this resolution. And Matt, I know as you were typing it, or as your secretary typing it at a couple $100 an hour, you most likely knew that it's not enforceable and it's not legal. Mr. President, you might temporarily have the gavel of the Park District, but I don't believe even you have the power to change the laws of the state of Illinois, especially when the mandate is a non-binding referendum from an off-year primary election, which, by the way, I'd love to say that when I went in to vote, I did not fill out one of those stupid damn questions. That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Permits for dog parks. Do we have an interest in a rec building? Of course, we all want a rec building. Peter, I'd like to be named People Magazine's Sexiest Man of the Year in 2014. But I'm not going to hold my breath. Maybe seconds. The next issue I have is the amount of time that you're spending at the administration building at the Park District. I heard you say the other night that you're hands off with the staff. With all due respect, who are you crediting? Really, how many times are you in and out of that building every single week? Please, for the love of all that is holy, let the professionals do their job. You are here as a member of the board in an advise and consent manner. We have people here that have served this district well and honorably for years and years and years. Let them do their job. The next area of concern tonight is the transparency checklist. I've told you this before, I'm going to say it again for the record. We do not need a checklist to tell us that you haven't been transparent since you took over as board president. You, sir, hired an executive director with 0.0 experience and didn't even have the courtesy to allow your fellow board members to interview him. You want to talk about something non-transparent and in the dark? These people had no idea what was going on. So you were going to have some poor schlub come up here tonight and talk about transparency? Please. You, Mr. President, are as transparent, or to transparency what Bernie Madoff is to a trusted investment banker. The only thing that I see out of you that is transparent is the total disdain that you have for your fellow citizens and neighbors. Even without these, I can see the laughter and the smirking. Also, if you do start an ethics commission, I, Jamie Howard, 7700 Briarcliff Drive, Plainfield, Illinois, would love to volunteer. Because I can promise you something. I will get to the bottom of dummy companies. I will get to the bottom of LED lights, missing soccer equipment, change locks, labor violation, patronage hiring, mystery soccer t-shirts, and just plain old homespun dishonesty. I'm not sure if you broke any laws or not, and I really, and I mean this sincerely, hope that you didn't. But Peter, even Richard Nixon eventually did the right thing for his country and resigned. And President Hurtado, I say with all due respect, you're no Richard Nixon.
Sir, I'm going to ask.
I had typed out, it's going to be brief.
Yeah, because this is compromised. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thomas Edward Carey, 23816 West Roberts Ave, Plainfield, Illinois. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to address some issues I have concerning 3 purchases made by the former director. I believe these purchases are an example for why there needs to be a reduction in the amount of money which can be spent by the Park District Director without prior board approval. The first item is check number 88025 dated January 6, 2014 in the amount of $12,000 for the purchase of a used 2003 Ford E450 bus. The bus was purchased from Signature Auto Group in Crystal Lake, Illinois, as is with 130,681 miles on the odometer. The vehicle also required repair, parts, and tire replacement. The amount of $18,072.56, bringing the total cost to $13,872.56. This amount was probably low because the labor costs of the Park District employees who worked on the bus were not provided. The justification for this purchase is in the form of a 1-page document authored by Mr. Peck indicating the vehicle is needed to transport 11 to 13-year-olds and Park District staff to a 10-week summer camp. The document suggests the vehicle would increase the number of participants in the program, and then after expenses, which includes hiring a driver for 10 weeks for $3,000, the extra profit generated would pay for the bus in 3 years. The document bases this assumption on the purchase price of $15,000, but does not include the cost of insurance or maintenance of the vehicle. I question the need for this vehicle, if it even lasts 3 years, considering the current mileage. It would have been better to contract for a vehicle from a local bus company so that the Park District would have some more flexibility and would not have to maintain, insure, and store a vehicle for 52 weeks a year and hire a driver for the bus. The second purchase is check number 86,129, dated June 28, 2013, the amount of $18,221 for a brand new 2013 Dodge Journey SE 4x4. The vehicle was purchased from Tyson Jeep in Shorewood. The information I received is Mr. Peck had exclusive use of this vehicle, including parking it at his residence. I requested to be provided with any documents, including any contractual requirement which the Park District had entered into to provide Mr. Peck a vehicle. The Park District responded that there were no such documents. I find it troubling that Mr. Peck spent $18,221 of the taxpayers' money so that he can have a vehicle to drive. What I find more troubling is the purchase agreement from the dealership lists the buyers as the Plainfield Park District and Garrett M. Peck. The certificate of title from the state of Illinois lists the owners as the Plainfield Park District and Garrett M. Peck, which is most likely a typo, and the vehicle registration lists the owners as the Plainfield Park District and Garrett M. Peck. And in addition to this, the registration, there is a redaction in the box which the Secretary of State records the driver's license file number, which is most likely Mr. Peck's file number. For a public official to purchase a vehicle with public funds and to place his name on the title of that vehicle is unacceptable. I demand that Mr. Peck's name be removed from the title of this vehicle and Mr. Peck pay any associated costs for this action.
That has been removed, by the way.
That has been done after I filed the FOI.
I don't know. I was
Yeah.
told last week that was a mistake.
Did he pay for it?
No.
You didn't pay for it?
He didn't pay for it.
He didn't pay for the car, no.
Did he pay for every change?
I don't know. That's,
So we got a lawyer. Got a lawyer in the room.
I'm not sure. I know it got changed, but I'm not sure.
Moving on, gets better. A vinyl item purchase order 9785 dated 9/12/13 for $2,170 for a Bearcat LS27 log splitter. It was purchased at Shorewood Home and Auto in Shorewood. My FOIA request for this item, I requested justification of the purchase. The Park District policy concerning the disposal of trees and any byproduct of trees which were generated on Park District property. A list of persons, businesses, or organizations who received byproducts of trees generated from Park District property since November 1st, 2012, and if the Park District received payment for said byproducts. The name and title of the Park District member or elected official who authorized transfer of tree byproducts to any persons, business, or organizations. To which I was informed there was no such documentation. I find it strange that the Park District needs a log splitter, considering that the Park District prohibits campfires on Park District property, and there are no fire pits or fireplaces on Park District property. What I have been informed is after this log splitter was purchased, Park District employees were tasked as a part of their duties with removing dead trees and fallen wood from Park District property. The wood was transported via Park District vehicles to the Park District facility on Lockport Road. The wood was then sorted. Wood suitable for splitting was then cut to proper length and split. The split wood was then loaded on a Park District owned trailer. When the trailer was loaded, an individual in a pickup truck would then remove the trailer from the property. The trailer would then later be returned empty and the process would be repeated. I requested that the state police be notified of this incident so an investigation can be made to determine whether or not in fact these activities occurred and determine if any criminal charges should be filed against the individuals who arranged this activity. I requested this be made in writing so that a copy can be provided for any citizen who requests it. Do you have any response?
I am. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Ma'am. So you can make a note about Jimmy.
My name is Mark Badnick, 13707 Lake Drive. I come here as a PSA soccer coach. I'll start off by saying I actually have next to my bed my grandfather's Croatian naturalization paper, so.
Excuse me.
Too far away, one generation you lose it all. Everything that we've talked about and that I've seen read in the press, all this stuff is extremely important. But I think the one thing that I've seen very little talk about is kids programming. And that's mainly what I'm here to talk to the board about today. I know I've reached out to the Park District. Was it September when you decided to start your own soccer league? Does anybody remember when that was? September. And I expressed my displeasure that I thought that was a bad idea. And why I'm coming to you publicly today is I think it's important in real time that we look at the effects on the kids by having a competitive soccer league. I'm missing my first soccer practice right now, and what's unique, this is the first year where at a younger age group we have combined age groups. So we might have some, I have a 4-year-old that's going to be playing with a 6-year-old, which is something that's a negative effect on the program. And this is probably due to the siphoning off of kids and the splitting of kids into multiple programs. This is the first thing that's been on my doorstep as far as something that's affecting the kids in a negative way. Something that I brought up in the past, and now this is coming to fruition, and I think it's something that we have to monitor, moving forward. I know we have an issue with the basketball. This is another issue I brought up to the some board members previously. We had an issue with the basketball program where we had a 3-year combined age group, and if the teams aren't sorted properly, my wife coached a team where the score was 42-3 or something at halftime. And my wife may not be the best basketball coach, but being on the free side of that. But these are the type of issues that are real things that affect kids' programming when you dilute the system. The second half of that goes, I talked to one of the commissioners in September, and the argument was that the park district was going to provide competition for soccer. We have a 3+ decade long program. We also have the Y, just for kicks run some things. Depending on where you live in the district, we might be able to go north of